Sydney Sweeney is not part of the Disney echo chamber. She doesn't orbit franchise culture, and she's definitely not known for sugarcoating things just to stay likable. So when Moana 2026 entered the conversation around her, the reaction didn't land as applause. It landed as a challenge, and that's what made it uncomfortable and interesting. Sydney didn't attack the teaser, but she didn't protect it either. Her reaction cut straight through the surface-level excitement and went after something deeper, whether this movie actually earns its scale. She acknowledged the ambition immediately, no denying that. The teaser clearly wants to feel larger, heavier, more serious than before. But Sydney raised the question most people avoid. Is bigger actually meaningful or just louder? She pointed out that Hollywood has a habit of mistaking expansion for evolution. More visuals, more sound, more emotional cues, but not always more substance. And according to her, Moana 2026 is walking a very thin line between growth and overstatement. That alone sparked debate. Because Moana isn't just another animated sequel, it's treated like a cultural artifact. And Sydney subtly questioned whether the sequel is trusting that legacy or leaning on it. Then she shifted to the emotional tone, and this is where things got spicy. She noted that the teaser feels more restrained, almost guarded, and while some people see that as maturity, she suggested it could also be creative caution, a studio afraid to take risks because the original worked too well. That's not praise, that's pressure. When Ali Cravalho came up, Sydney was respectful, but again, not indulgent. She acknowledged the growth in her voice and presence, but added that growth alone isn't enough. Returning stronger doesn't automatically mean returning graver. And she hinted that the real test will be whether Moana is allowed to change, not just sound older. That line alone split the audience, because fans want evolution, but Disney often wants familiarity. Then came her most debated take, Dwayne Johnson. Sydney didn't talk about charisma. She didn't talk about humor. She talked about dominance. She questioned whether Maui still takes up too much narrative oxygen, whether the balance truly serves Moana's story, or whether the film still leans on star power as a safety net. And that's controversial for a reason, because Maui is beloved, but beloved characters can still overshadow the story they're supposed to support. She didn't accuse, she implied, and implication is more dangerous than criticism. Sydney also touched on the craftsmanship, and this is where she really separated herself from typical reactions. She said the teaser is technically impressive, almost too controlled, too polished, too careful, as if every frame has been approved by 10 committees instead of one bold vision. That comment alone triggered the Disney formula conversation again. Is Moana 2026 being shaped by artists or optimized by algorithms? She didn't say it outright. She didn't need to. And then came the line that quietly shook the room. This feels like a movie that knows how important it is. Not how good it is, not how emotional it is, how important it is. That's not a compliment, it's a warning. Because when a film becomes aware of its own weight, it risks losing spontaneity. It risks becoming careful instead of courageous. Sydney wasn't rooting against Moana 2026, but she wasn't rooting blindly either. Her reaction felt like someone asking Disney to prove something, not to audiences, but to the story itself. And that's why her response stuck. Not because it was negative, but because it wasn't obedient. In a media cycle full of safe reactions and pre-approved excitement, Sydney Sweeney brought skepticism, expectation, and tension into the conversation. And whether fans like it or not, that kind of reaction forces a better question. Is Moana 2026 here to move the story forward, or just protect the legacy it already owns? Because hype is easy, approval is common, but when someone respected isn't fully convinced yet, that's when things get interesting. And now the spotlight isn't just on the film, it's on whether it can answer the doubts as powerfully as it sells the dream. If you want next, a nuclear thumbnail line, a YouTube Shorts controversial cut, or an even harsher version, just tell me how far you want to push it.